You know, one of the key things today that we see in our environment is a lot of deception. We see it, it doesn't matter which side you're coming from or what your thoughts are, you start realizing that a lot of the things that are being told us are not necessarily true. For decades, I've been in the pursuit of truth to understand what's really real, what's really true. And this series is about sharing that with you. I hope you enjoy it.
You take the blue pill, the story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill, you stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. Remember, all I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.
Shalom, everyone. Welcome to the teaching on truth, and we're going to dig right in and get started. First of all, you should already have a decision inside yourself to know that you swallowed the red pill. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go back to the intro and look at it, but you've had the decision from Morpheus. He said, I didn't say it would be easy. I said it would be the truth, and I'm going to do my best today to expose you to decades worth of study and the truth that's revealed. And we're going to spend a little bit of time going through it. Today is more of a introduction into what we're talking about, and then we're going to, over the multiple series that follow, drill down into each of the items. So again, if you wanted the blue pill, turn it off right now, walk away, and you'll wake up in Wonderland and everything will be just like it was. But if you keep going and get exposed to the truth, nothing in your life's ever going to be the same again. That I promise you. It reminds me of a story from Plato's Republic called the Allegory of the Cave. It was written about 500 BC. In that story, Plato talks about people who live their whole lives chained to a cave wall. There's a light that shines behind them, and they're chained to where all they can see is the wall. They can't see anything else. They can't even actually see themselves. Their whole life, all they've seen is the empty shadows. And then as people walk behind them, they see the shadows reflect and they hear the noise and the voices bouncing off the wall, and they believe that shadow is reality. And then finally one of the guys escape, and he makes it outside and he sees the light. Of course, he's disoriented and nothing makes sense. It's confusing. It's what we might call cognitive dissonance. In other words, his mind can't receive it. It can't accept the truth. He can't understand it. But what is this? What is all these people moving? What's the light? What's really happening here? It's so bright. But he perseveres, and he gets to understand there's a whole real world out there, not the empty shadows that he's lived his life in. And by being out and living in the real world for a little while, he finally reaches a point that he says, I got to go back and free my friends. And he goes back into the cave, but his friends want no part of it. They've got contests running to see who can identify the next shadow the best, and one of them's about to win a prize. Or they got all these little empty things going on that keep them tied to the shadows of the cave wall instead of understanding truth. And they're represented and they believe that those shadows are true. Okay, again, that's written by Plato in 500 BC. But how true is that today? How about a quote from Theodore Roosevelt that says, behind the ostensible government sits enthroned an invisible government, owing no allegiance and acknowledging no responsibility to the people. That's hard to believe that thousands of years later, we've got the same story going on. How about a quote by our CIA director? We will know our disinformation program is complete when everything the American public believes is false. William Casey, director of the CIA in 1981. Oh my goodness, that can't be true. Yeah, Google it. This isn't a secret. We'll know our disinformation program is complete when everything the American public believes is false. Everything. One of the things I'm referring to right here is Operation Mockingbird. If that was kind of conspiracy theory not too long ago, but in 2007, CIA documents were released that absolutely and specifically talk about Operation Mockingbird. You can Google it, take a look at the family jewels It was, again, a document released talking about the CIA and their illegal activities and listing out specific items, including Project Mockingbird, talking about events with Jane Fonda, talking about human experience in the MK Ultra. You know, of course, everybody's going, oh, well, that's science fiction. That's not true. That's not real. No, it is real. Google it. Google the family jewels. Google Project Mockingbird. Take a look at these things. Stop living chained to the cave walls and start looking around. Let me give you another quote by William Colby, director of the CIA. The Central Intelligence Agency owns everyone of any significance in the major media. If you've been paying any attention lately, you've seen all the talking heads regurgitating the exact same lines in the same frequency on all the different channels. It's amazing. I've even seen online where they've synced up about 100 different stations or news people that are saying the same thing in concert enough that it can synchronize when you're listening to it. It's crazy. Well, how could that be? How could all these independent news agencies, because they're not independent, they're all manipulated and they're all controlled. And again, this isn't a secret, and it's starting to be more and more exposed today. But again, we got to wake up and we got to unchain ourselves from the cave walls. What if I told you that we had Plato talking about it 500 BC? We see it in our lives today, 2020 AD. But what else? Why would we think that somewhere in the middle it wasn't like that? Why would we think that maybe information that was put together was just as diabolical and designed to control and manipulate the people when the government is putting information together? How about involving religion? How about when the government, the powers to be, are deciding what you're to believe in an orchestrated global religion? Let me introduce you to Constantine. Actually, Flavius Valerius Constantinus Augustus, or the Emperor Constantine. Constantine's credited, as the story goes, that he was on the way to a battle of the Milvian Bridge, and he looked up to the sun and he saw a cross. And he had a dream that if he put this cross on all of their weapons and their shields, that he would win this battle. And he converted to Christianity right there, and they went and won the battle. Well, again, Constantine was an emperor that was bloodthirsty, that had a desire to regain control of the total empire. He was the emperor of 1/4 of the empire, which would be like the area around Great Britain in what was called the Western Empire. There were 3 other emperors. He wanted to combine all of Rome back under his rule, where he became the ruler of the world, or a one world ruler. And when you look up into the sun on a bright day, what do you see? If you look right at the sun, you're going to see the rays of the sun come out and form similar to a cross. Here's a picture that a friend of mine took, just a real picture to show you a reflection of what the sun looks like. Again, it's not a trick, or it's not a miracle that you look up the sun and see a cross. However, there's some problems with that story. Number one, standing in Rome today, what's called the Arch of Constantine. It's a triumphal arch in Rome dedicated to the Emperor Constantine the Great. The arch was commissioned by the Roman Senate to commemorate Constantine's victory over Maxentius at the Battle of the Milvian Bridge in AD 312. Now, there's quite extensive engraving on the arch. There's a lot of reliefs. There's a lot of Greek and Roman writing on the arch. The question is, when this was created to commemorate his victory, Constantine was alive, and he had this conversion to quote-unquote Christianity. Why do we not see any symbolic references on this arch at all to Christianity? None of we see inscriptions to Roman sun gods. We see inscriptions to sun god worship. We see reliefs of pagan worship. Even the sacrificing of a pig. Why do we not see anything that you would consider a Christian reference, and why do we see so much pagan reference on this arch? If he in fact had that conversion. We're going to dig into that as we go along, and we're going to dig deep into what that means and what that can mean. But I just want to expose you to some of these concepts and some of these ideas so you can do a little bit of research for yourself. Go out and Google these. Go spend some time. Go look them up. Because you can find YouTubes where people have actually even taken a man lift up there and deciphered everything on this arch. Nothing would lead you to a belief in a single creator and his son that was crucified and resurrected. What about a council that shows up 300 years later after the death and burial and resurrection, and we have this council that shows up on what every Christian should believe? It's called the Nicene Council. It's the Nicene Creed. And you can look it up. Guess who created the Nicene Council? Guess who called that assembly of leaders, religious leaders, to come together and to create what every Christian should believe? Not just what every Christian should believe, but what every believer in the empire should believe, because it became the official religion of the Roman Empire. And we know it today as the Roman Catholic Church. But again, think about that Rome was all of the known world. That was Roman, the whole world. So it was actually the universal or globalist church, Catholic. The word Catholic, again, Google it. The word Catholic right here, I have it on the Dictionary of the English Language, the American Heritage Dictionary of the English Language. Catholic literally means of broad or liberal scope, comprehensive, including or concerning all mankind, universal. It wasn't hidden, guys. This wasn't like some secret ploy. The Catholic Church, Roman Catholic or Universal Church of the globalist Universal Church, was designed and created for everyone to be that was in the part of this kingdom would believe what this council came up with and said that you were required to believe. People don't realize it, but more followers of the way, more quote-unquote Christians, were killed as a result of this Nicene Council than any time in history. The believers at that time didn't take it lightly. They didn't take it laying down. Wars broke out, huge revolts and violent protests about it. But it was the birth of the Catholic Church. It was the creation of even the things that we today, as a Protestant or a Catholic, what you're going to follow and believe and accept to be true, came out of the very volatile time frame of the Nicene Council and the Nicene Creed as you look at it today. I suggest go pull up some research, go read about it, go take a look at the Nicene Council, go take a look at who was it comprised of. We're going to get into that into later lessons, but I just want to introduce you to that concept today, that we let a government, a pagan, rogue government emperor establish and decide what we would believe today as our faith, and all other books were burned and destroyed, and if you were caught with anything else, you would be executed. And that's how he established the Roman Catholic Church. When you take a look at these images, you see the sunburst, on the standard that the Pope is always carrying around with that great big sunburst and the cross up on top of it that's all gold and beautiful. When you look behind the pictures of the head of Christ, what do you see in so many of these paintings, in the artwork? What do you see? You see a sunburst behind him. It's a sun. Why is that behind him? Why is the sun behind so many of the saints? Why do they put that behind their head? Well, you ask most people and that have any knowledge, they're going to say, well, that's a halo. Well, it's not a halo. It's a sunburst. And it existed long before pictures of Christ. And it's on lots of artwork. And it is a sun, and it's an honor of the sun. But even if it was a halo, where the hell does a halo come from? There's no halo in Scripture. There's nothing. The halo comes from the god Helios. It's just as pagan as the sunburst would be in the artwork. So pick your poison. Either one's okay, but they're both a problem. Neither one of them are dealing with the Hebrew Savior, the Christ that came as Yeshua, a Hebrew. Neither one of these have anything to do with Him. Why are they so prevalent? Those are questions we're going to answer and I'm going to show you. This right now, guys, we're just at the tip of the iceberg. We're going to be going a much deeper. There's been a hijacking of the truth. There's been an eradication of our Hebrew roots. Even the name of our Creator's been hidden from us. What's his name? Oh, he's got many names. No, he's got one name. And he tells us over and over and over. Now, he's called many things, but he has one name. And he tells us over and over again not to bring his name to naught. The one will not go unpunished who brings his name to naught. Why don't we know it? Why has his name been brought to naught? Join us in the next lesson. We're going to cover that.